That was the case. They said she didn't neighbors and
problems here because it's down on path.
You're right. You take a look at it. Just show.
Last question.
Yeah, I had it on close.
My wife called me. You come over and help get her called.
That's what Robert said. Anyway,
that time.
She had cancer. Because he was taking care of him, but he can't.
Sitting back there.
Good folks, man.
we'll call the regular board meeting to order. The record show that all aldermen are present. Mr. Glorioso, you lead us in the invocation, and Ms. Burgess in the pledge, please.
Everybody, please bow your heads. Thank you for bringing us together today in the spirit of generosity. May we honor one another by keeping an open mind. May we voice our truth and listen with an open heart. In Christ's name we pray.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3B, the Mayor's Youth Council update is being rescheduled and will be removed from the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Blackman.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wade. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tonight we have a presentation for the Gulf Coast Veterans Parade. Mike, you want to?
Yes, sir.
On this?
Recently, I was contacted by Colonel Steve Farragut. He's our lead Army instructor at the Ocean Springs High School, JRTC, about the possibility of bringing the Gulf Coast Veterans Parade to Ocean Springs. Ocean Springs has always been supportive of our military. We've got a lot of retirees here, active duty military. So I contacted Colonel Jim Hollingsworth, who's with us tonight, U.S. Air Force retired. Besides chairman of the board at Keesler Federal Credit Union, he's also president of the organization that organizes the Gulf Coast Veterans Parade, and they're interested in adding Ocean Springs to the annual rotation. Currently, it runs in Gulfport, Biloxi, and D'Iberville, and frankly, in my opinion, we would be honored to have their parade. But Colonel, if you would do us the honor of giving us the information, we'd appreciate it.
Sure, I have copies for the council. I'll read them here just briefly. There are only 3 slides, so I'll just go through this quickly. But I have the intro already. I'm Jim Hollingsworth, retired from Keesler Air Force Base out here. The Gulf Coast Veterans Parade's been ongoing for like 24 years. And as you said, it had rotated Biloxi, D'Iberville, and Gulfport. I guess there's a few attempts earlier to have it have one in Ocean Springs. However, it didn't get enough, I guess, regional support from the people that were trying to put it together. But anyway, we are the Gulf Coast Veterans Parade. We're a 501c3. We're all volunteer. There's 6 of us that actually operate the whole thing. But the intent of the parade, obviously, is to honor veterans and also the active duty members that are in the area. It's funded by public and private donations and hosted by the supporting cities. So fundamentally what happens is we have a pre-parade reception by some local, whether it's a casino or someone that's going to support in, like in Biloxi, we had a different, the Civodian Center sponsored the reception. But anyway, it's by invitation only. It's kind of like a VIP kind of reception, usually around 250 people. But the parade is typically at 11 o'clock on the weekend prior to Veterans Day, which is November 11th. This parade is nationally recognized by the Veterans Administration as a designated regional site. And as I said, we've been doing it for 24 years and have that recognition for 14 years. It does help to promote the community. It's a free family event for everybody. It's the largest veterans parade here in the Southeast. We usually have about, not as big as Mardi Gras, but we have 70, 80 units in the parade. We usually have about 2,000 marchers from all over the state. We have a junior ROTC marching competition that also comes in as part of the parade. The way that it's generally managed is the city helps with the reception location. The Gulf Coast Veterans Parade organization itself does the organization portion of putting the whole thing together, the sign-ups, the registrations, and all that type of thing. From the city, we ask for the standard stuff, like the barricades, security, and that type of thing. But as I said, it's driven mostly by donations. So we have on this flyer, but it's msveteransparade.org. Under these flyers, but there's an icon on there that you can just go to that website, the full presentation of everything we do, how to register for the parade, the whole lineup. So anyway, that's us in a nutshell.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Allen?
Colonel, I assume we do this every 4 years. I see the Iberville, Biloxi, so we would be on a if we did it, we would be on a rotation basis.
It's typically on a rotational basis. Sometimes the city will have something big, some big event, and we'll rotate in earlier with the city's approval on both sides. But yeah, typically that's how that works.
Raven, do we have anything that Saturday before the 11th? We've got so many festivals. Would that conflict with anything?
It has potential to. It depends, how it falls is kind of differently each year, whether it's impacted by Peter Anderson or not, may or may not be. There's other things that go on. There's air shows. There's all kinds of things that can change that rotation. Next year would be typically golf course year, and so that's kind of like that part of the rotation.
Okay.
I think for next year is this coming up year would be the only year we really conflict with Peter Anderson or something, because it's going to be the second weekend because of Halloween, the way it falls. But we used to have a Veterans Day parade in 2017. I don't even know why we stopped having it.
Well, that was more of a local one organized by the American Legion, and unfortunately, the American Legion in Ocean Springs just didn't have the funding or membership to, I think they found it a little, their heart was in it, but I think they found a little more than they could manage. It ran for a year or two.
I thought so.
Yes, obviously, it doesn't have to be, on that weekend per se, but, to have it after Veterans Day is a little, odd. And you could actually do it on Veterans Day, but then again, there's a lot of people, obviously, that work on Veterans Day besides the federal and state that may or may not be off.
So what year would be our year?
Was the Iberville?
No, what year would be our year? If Gulfport's next year, what year would be?
Well, it would be where we insert you.
Okay, so it doesn't just fall, it just, you don't have a certain.
Normally it would, but we would insert you
Okay.
in place of one of them and move them back, because we'd like to get you into the rotation. I think it's kind of like long overdue. I was really surprised when I started doing it 3 or 4 years ago that we weren't already doing it over here. But
It'd be great.
Yeah,
I think this is a great idea.
rotation. Yes, sir. And in that vein, I would like to make a motion to authorize the mayor and our department heads, Raven, whoever, Raven, you'd be disappointed if I didn't put you in there.
That's true.
To begin meeting with the board of the Gulf Coast Veterans Parade and work out the details. I'd like to see Ocean Springs participate.
I'll second that. Motion by Mr. MP, second by Mr. Blackman. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Colonel.
sir.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 4A, we're starting some series of public hearings here. The first one is to approve a commercial subdivision sketch plat at 3419 Bienville Boulevard. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Offenlot, second by Mr. Wade. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Carter, you want to explain?
This is a commercial sketch plat at 3419 Bienville near Grove One Road. It will separate this property into 4 lots. And it'll have a private road going through the center. It was heard on the 12th by Planning Commission. It was unanimously approved for approval for the sketch plat, and the sketch plat does meet the requirements of the CH zoning or regional commercial.
Anybody have any questions for Carter?
No,
I do. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, this is the frontage are the 2 parcels for Chick-fil-A and Chipotle, correct?
That's
And they're
correct.
still trying to find 2 other, hopefully, restaurants for the rear side.
That's correct.
Okay.
I haven't heard of anything else as of
I
late.
haven't heard any updates either, but.
Anybody read?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yes.
Does anyone from the public would like to speak for or against the approved commercial subdivision sketch plat?
I have a question. What was the address?
Please approach the podium, please.
What was the address of that?
State your name for the record, please. Did you say
Ellen Hall, 1217 Sunset. What was the address of that?
3419 Denville Boulevard?
Okay. So this is not the one that was on the curve that was, okay, that's what I want to talk about.
Anyone else who would like to speak for or against the public hearing? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Who was, Rock? Motion by Mr. Blackman, second by Mr. Pena. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve commercial subdivision sketch plat at 3419 Bienville Boulevard.
Motion by Mr. Blackman,
Second.
second by Mr. Pena. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, 4B, adopt an ordinance amendment to the UDC amending Chapter 2 to add new section related to the relocation of permanent or placement of structures. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Pena,
Second.
second by Ms. Burgess. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Carter?
This would be adding a section to the UDC to allow clarifying the requirements for movement of a structure or relocation of a structure to a site. One of the requirements is you have to demonstrate that you adhere to the zoning, i.e. setbacks, any other requirements that must be met under zoning. There was nothing in the UDC for that particular subject matter, and so I was tasked to add this language to the UDC.
Anybody
all I
have any
have.
questions? Carter?
I do, Mayor. Carter, I just have a problem moving forward with this tonight, being we're in the middle of a lawsuit concerning relocation of structures, and I just don't feel comfortable moving forward with this. It's just my take on it.
Will, you got any comment on that?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, it is in the UDC regarding this and other places. Obviously, the Jackson County Chancery Court has ruled in favor of the city in the matter you're talking about, found that we did have those ordinances in place that weren't followed in the litigation you're speaking of, but
It's final?
no. This ordinance would be going forward. Obviously, Mr. Garrick is the litigant. This would be going forward, not going backwards. Mr. Garrick's property is under the old ordinances, so is his appeal to the Supreme Court of Mississippi. But obviously, I'm not going to move you off your motion if that's what you'd like to do.
I really don't want to move forward with that tonight. I'd like to have that finalized before we adopt this.
Okay, anybody else have any comments? Is there anybody from the audience that would like to speak in favor or against the proposed amendment?
Mark Garrett,
605 Ward. Appreciate getting to speak tonight. I did the 8 years Army. When I found out about this, I was on a mission trip to Africa, and it was Veterans Day. And I thought, just to keep it informed. But I was happy to be able to get back here in the morning. First, address this. I got my stuff printed up. I came down here. Y'all could have asked any questions, what or what, but nobody wanted to allow anything. I got permission. I'm glad y'all are doing this because I had permission. Contrary to what a lot of people have been told around town, there's an old country song out right now, and it says, like, if you stop lying about me, I won't tell the truth about you. And I feel like that's it's been happening a lot to me lately. I had permission. I've got proof I had permission. That whole silliness that happened, I feel real confident it'll be remedied. But I'm glad that something is taking place. But I appreciate Mr. Cox because this definitely at the time. And I like one of the things. In the thing I will say, it said something about holidays. Like y'all want to make sure on holidays or something, which I think is perfect timing now because my neighbors on either side of me. Now it wasn't one of my neighbors. It was the contractors, but on either side of me, stuff's been pulled on Martin Luther King Day when the city shut down. And the second one, when I had a confrontation with the neighbor, he said that the city department, the planning department, told them that they would have to I would have to take some kind of civil matter, that I wouldn't be able to stop it since it was a holiday hour. So y'all have taken away one of your tools. That's something that y'all been using for a while, but I think it's something. I think it's smart. But yeah, y'all had plenty of opportunity the other day. Y'all asked me about this. This has been just, I feel like that old fella that come in maybe the last meeting and he was about to cry, bless his heart. And I was about to give him a hug, but he was looking at me all sad and I wanted to hug him, like really, because I knew right where he's at. But I've been coming to these meetings for years and I've seen all kinds of people crying because these people that I'm trying to save this old house. When I was a kid, I remember they were trying to tear down the Mary C. O'Keefe. And some of y'all remember that. They were trying to tear down the Mary C. O'Keefe. Can you imagine if they had been allowed to do that? But they tried. They tried. And I'm glad a bunch of groups have woken up now and folks are standing up. That little house I'm trying to save, beautiful, immaculate. It got remodeled right before I got it. I mean, things beautiful. Now, if I wanted to tear that house down, it wouldn't have took me half a day. It wouldn't have took me half a day. And it's been proven because all the other little houses around me, they've all been torn down. No arguments, no problem. If I wanted to build some big thing, right up, take up the whole property line, all the way up to property line and make it miles high. I got a piece of property the same size as my neighbor's. And my neighbor's got about 9,000 square foot on his, and I can't have 3,600 on mine. That little house looks like it's been there since the beginning. But anyway, this is going to get remedied. I feel 100% positive about it. The gentleman's prayer this earlier in the meeting, that really made me feel good about it. And then that Pledge of Allegiance, it really made me feel good about it. So I believe it's all going to work out fine. But I appreciate Mr. Cox, and I appreciate any of y'all that agreed with him.
So Mark, are you in favor or against the amendment?
I'm against voting on it this time.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak for or against?
Ellen Hall, 1217 Sunset. I would just like to say that this amendment, this ordinance, is not really clearly stated with the proper checklists, et cetera. They're more objective. It leaves too much open for people to make decisions on whether they like somebody or not, whether their project is approved or not. Mark is a really great guy. I've gotten to know him over the last year, and this whole thing is just a really sad travesty.
I think we're getting off track.
Yeah, I think we are too.
So let's stick to the ordinance.
Back to the ordinance. Trying to put that in place now when there is a process in place, and he got permission. There was permission given to anyone who wants to build or relocate a house, and then be able to have that decision and say you can't. And I just want to say that we should try to work with the current situation we have. There's no reason why, and we would like to work that out with the planning department who is refusing to work with him. And there's no reason to litigate. Why are we litigating so much when we don't need to litigate? I mean,
understand.
you have unlimited funds,
Hold on a
and
second,
the
hold on
city
a second.
attorney is
Hold on a second.
getting
We're
billable hours
talking
for this?
about this particular ordinance
And I
here.
bring
We're
it back
not
to the
going back
ordinance.
to talk about Mark's movement
I
in that
agree.
house.
The ordinance right now is not needed. I'm
Okay.
just saying, we have a process in place that you are refusing to work with a current person who's being sued for doing what he was told he could do. And the only thing I can think is that you guys are just using too much personal opinion versus the process. And we're residents. Quit fighting us as residents. If you put as much effort into us and the residents as you do your festivals and your parades, we would be a lot better off.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against the ordinance? The amendment to the UDC. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Impey.
Second.
I'm sorry, Ms. Papania, second by Mr. Wade. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to adopt?
I'm just asking again that we just hold off to our next meeting and give a chance for this appeal to be finalized before we make a move on this. That's just my opinion, and I agree with the amendment. I think in the future it needs to be put in place. I just don't think we should be doing it in the middle of a lawsuit.
Okay. Anyone else have any other comments?
I think we need to hold off also.
Okay. So is there a motion to table it then?
I'll make a motion to table.
Motion by Mr. Cox.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wade. Need a roll call, please?
Aye.
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 Right.
All right.
Aye.
Okay, the amendment is tabled. Moving on to 4C, adopt ordinance, text amendment to the UDC, amending Chapter 3, Section 3.8.5, Table 3.5, and Table 3.6 to remove LVCS code column.
This particular,
Oh, second, excuse me. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Cox,
Second.
second by Ms. Papania. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
this is a text amendment to remove the LBCS codes as our land-based classification system. It's a numeric classification system that you can use for land uses, types, different ways that you can classify them. There's inconsistencies in the permitted use chart with the verbal terminology and the numeric codes. So I'm asking that we delete the numeric codes. It's the most expeditious way for business to continue as usual and proceed from there.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Carter?
So it's not going to change any of the zoning, it's just going to, it's a clarification.
Yeah,
step.
it's just it's literally saying that multifamily is saying it's multifamily and there's inconsistencies in the codes. So some of them are correct, some of them aren't. There's enough not correct to where we really don't need it. We can use the terminology for the specific uses and just go from there.
Okay.
Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt. Is someone's phone?
That's what I'm wondering.
It's for hearing purposes.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay. Does anyone from the public would like to speak for or against?
Was that? Julia Lawn, 303 Front Beach. My understanding is we've used these codes for a long time, and I really don't understand the reason why we're getting rid of them. It sounds like it's something you fall back on that maybe helps you with interpreting where things fall into place. I mean, is there a really good explanation why this is being changed? If there's not, I really think it needs to be left. It's something that most cities use, is also my understanding.
Okay. Anyone else who would like to speak for or against? Okay, does the board have any further questions? Okay, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Papania,
Second.
second by Ms. Burgess, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Impey,
Second.
second by Ms. Papania. Need a roll call, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
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 And nay.
Motion carries 5-2. 4D, approve final plat for Harper Grove subdivision for a 30-unit townhome development. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Impey,
Second.
second by Mr. Blackman. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Carter?
This is a final plat. Get completely dyslexic with two microphones. This is a final plat for Harper Grove subdivision, located off of Groveland for a 30-unit subdivision. They were approved at Planning Commission with the stipulation that they would have an approved plat by the city attorney at this particular meeting. I don't know whether the applicant's here. I haven't received anything on it as of late.
You mean bond?
Yes, sorry.
The bond letter was included in our agenda.
The bond letter, but the stipulation for approval at Planning Commission was that it was contingent upon approval of the bond.
So I thought
So if y'all wanna continue
they
with
got the
the-
bond today.
I haven't received anything.
Then we can't move forward without the bond.
I mean, I spoke to them briefly and they said they were gonna try to get it, but I have not seen it.
Are they
It
here?
wasn't provided to me.
Anybody here for them? Can you get up to the podium and state your name?
Nick Fountain, 13334 Seaway Road. At this time, we do not have a bond in place. We do have a letter from the bonding company agreeing that we'll have one by Thursday. I know we've said before we were going to have one. I do not know what the holdup is on the bonding company's behalf, but I think it's just a miscommunication between us and the staff. We were told a 3-year period, but in the UDC it states a 2-year. And after researching the UDC, the bonding company seems like they can get a bond in place by tomorrow. I don't know if that's gonna happen. Thursday, I'm sorry, Thursday. So with that being said, I know we've done work in other cities. Usually a 2-year bond requirement is standard. I don't know if it's just something in UDC that needs to be corrected or what, but we were going on the basis of 3-year bond being in place. But now after seeing what it states in the 2024 edition, it says 2 years for our maintenance bond. I think we can achieve that either by Thursday. If y'all will approve this, I mean, we can't get it recorded without your signatures and.
Well, the way the planning commission sent it to us with the contingency upon having that at this meeting, I mean, we would almost be,
Yeah.
you know,
But couldn't we consider putting the same contingency on it tonight? And if it didn't show up by Thursday, then it's got to come back?
I mean,
Just a thought.
this has been going on for a long time. You know, 2-week delay is not really gonna be that much. I don't know, I mean, what do y'all think? You know, the thing is, you know, we've never really did a contingency like that for somebody to bring in something prior to the next meeting, and, you know, I just have my reservations about that part of it.
I agree.
If he gets it by Thursday, we can have a special call to approve.
Yeah, I mean, we could, if the board, well, I mean, I'm willing to do a special call if the rest of the board is willing to do it, you know.
Is
But
2 weeks
to
gonna
approve it
really make
tonight-
that big of a deal? I mean, I'm just asking.
I don't know, I
It
mean,
would warrant.
Possibly, 2 weeks would make a big deal to the owner, just because he's trying to close before the end of the year.
Sure.
like I said, I'm willing to do a special call. It won't take that long to do it if, you know, if we can get a quorum, but I just think approving it on a contingency that they'll have it in between meetings, I don't think that's a good idea.
Ricky, if I may, UDC says shall have a bond. I think the cleanest thing would be to have the bond before they approve it.
Well, we do have an indemnity agreement signed by all the owners and their spouses, personally guaranteeing that they will be responsible for anything. If anything is to happen, money-wise, liability, they'll stand for it on this project until bonds are in place, which I said they should be by Thursday.
I would feel better with a special call.
Well, even special call though, I'm not comfortable with that either. I mean, we're in a public hearing. This is not just a special call, approve and move on. I think it needs to be delayed till the next meeting. I mean, I'm sorry if that delays in closing, but all I can tell him is he should have had his ducks in a row.
If it's gonna have to be will it have to be another public hearing, or will it have?
Yeah, how will that process work?
Because if it's gonna have to be advertised if it's another public hearing. But since we've had this public hearing and it's on a stipulation, I mean, I guess you could probably get away with not having a public hearing.
What'd you say, Carolyn?
It's been a long time, but that has happened before where y'all have allowed a singular item to come back under old business as long as everything else was addressed in the public hearing.
Okay.
I think that's really the only thing we're trying to address is just that, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Everything else, all the stuff,
Everything
all
else is
the
done.
covenants, everything else is turned in.
Passed all the
That's correct,
testing
yeah.
with public works, everything.
Okay.
Mr. Fountain, you put us in a bad place, and I think we need to stick with what Mr. Altman says and Ms. Nippy. And that's how I look at the thing. I'm sorry. I understand 2 weeks in construction may mean a lot to you or your company, but that's how we operate. We're in a public meeting here, and we're obligated, not a later meeting by ourselves. We're obligated to do it in a public meeting. I'm sorry, but I can't vote your way.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak from the audience for or against?
I have a question, and no one can answer it for me back here. When you do a condominiums, townhouse for 30 or whatever, a large amount, what is the difference between that and a moratorium on apartments because of the impact to our failing infrastructure that we need to work on so badly that you've got a moratorium on apartments? What's the difference?
Well, we're talking about the apartment complexes of 500 units versus 30.
Okay, it's still a large amount of multiple dwellings, and it's an impact on the infrastructure, right? So if we had an apartment complex with 30, you would approve it?
No.
So is it like flushing toilets in an apartment is not as, it's more impactful than if it's a condominium that costs more money?
These are apples and oranges you're talking
Are they? Because
about.
I don't understand that. Because he's saying if we have an apartment with 30, it would
Failing
be.
infrastructure.
Would be, we have an infrastructure problem, right? And the infrastructure is failing, it's old, and
Failing where?
I'm asking why.
Not in this area.
Is there a moratorium on
The moratorium
apartments?
wasn't done because of failing infrastructure, it's because our schools are full. There's other things that needed to be looked at. I mean, the school's meeting right now to figure out what they're gonna do the school district to have enough place for the kids. I mean, it's not just about where our sewer and our water's going to, it's where the kids get educated, it's where, there's a lot involved in it.
So it's basically the school system, then the moratorium, not infrastructure?
Well, I'm not saying it's specifically for the school set, but it's not because of failing infrastructure. It was to be able to figure out where we are and what our resources for school, for sanitation, transportation. I mean, it's a whole rim of things.
Yeah, because I did hear that it was infrastructure before, and so I just wondered, that's good clarification. So if it's a 30-room apartment complex, you would not approve it though either? It's just apartments. I'm just talking about.
It's not apartments, so so I don't know why we're discussing apartment moratorium.
Well, because if you're talking about doing a building that's got 30 units in it, it's still going to be an impact, and I'm just wondering where the line is drawn. Is it because
This is a subdivision, it's not a building with 30 units in it.
Oh, it's a subdivision with 30 units, so that's different if they're farther apart. It's just, I don't understand why you're moratorium on apartments, that's all.
Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak for?
Very quick question, just kind of curiosity, is this the, on Groveland, the little U-shaped plot that
Yes, sir.
they grasped recently?
Yes, sir.
Didn't know what it was.
Okay.
Good evening, I'm Rick Emery, the owner of the property. I'm sorry, good evening, I'm Rick Emery, owner of the property at 2082 Beach Drive, Gulfport, Mississippi, 39507. Appreciate everybody worked with us on this, and if we need to table it for 2 weeks until we have the proper bonding, I understand. So if we need to table it, that's fine. Just in the future, just for smaller village developers like us, you know, it was tough to get the bond when it was probably our interpretation and of 3 years, and that's not normal. So that's what the longest delay was on this thing. Done a lot of small subdivisions. We just recently purchased the old YMCA property. We own businesses and real estate here in Ocean Springs. And so we're looking forward to presenting that project next month, what we're doing with the old YMCA property. But we understand it's a public forum, but if we can consider it, great. We'll have that in place to ask for everything but our grandparents to sign for this bond that I've never seen before. But we understand. If we need to table it, we understand, and we appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak in favor or against? Is there a motion to close the public hearing? Motion by Mr. Cox. Second by Mr. Wade. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, is there a motion to table?
Make a motion to table.
Motion by Mr. Wade.
Second.
Second by Mr. Impey. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is agenda public comment. The public is invited to address the board up to 3 minutes each for a maximum period of 30 minutes, only regarding issues listed on this agenda. Please identify yourself and the agenda item before speaking.
Hi, Shannon Piper, 716 Hidden Oaks. I'm going to speak about Old Business 6A, the rezoning parcel on Government Street and Patch Road. I know that Donovan Scruggs has presented this to you all, and it was, the Planning Commission before here. I don't think a public need or public use was ever clearly identified, which would be part of the requirement for rezoning this to commercial highway. Some of the things that I've heard when it has been discussed, a lot of times we reference that commercial highway was zoned this way. It's like a fallback from when Government Street used to be our main highway. And that is no longer the case. And I know we're doing things to try to promote growth to start going to Bienville, to meet, there's going to be an expansion of the highway, and we want to continue the commercial growth out that way. This particular location, to me, it's the end of all of our connected streets in town. It is a big hot point in congestion for people that come off the highway onto Ocean Springs Road across the tracks on Government. And I think if you try to put something that you commercially zone highway commercial, that is only going to be more of a negative impact. There's a blind curve right here as you come around Government to get to the tracks, so you don't really have good sight lines. And again, you're on a 2-lane road, and it really won't fit this type of development. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak?
Ellen Hull, I want to talk about the same exact thing. So my understanding is Shannon had a meeting with you, the mayor, and Will on this subject a few weeks ago. And the issue was the fact that there wasn't proper signage put up prior to the...
I never had them.
It was a phone call. It was a phone call. And you were tied in. Anyway, let me just finish. So in other places that I live, I have a house in Utah, and I went back there recently, and there was a big sign up across the street. Well, it was not very big. It was about this size. And it said that in a month they were going to have a vote on that property because they were going to change the zoning on it. And because I'm there half the time, part of the time, I'm not there all the time, I would never have known that had they not put a sign up there, which is a requirement that they do that. And I looked at it and was like, okay, great, they're gonna put a house over there, that's fine. But at least I was notified. So then when you guys vote on these things, my question is, do each of you drive by that property before you vote, unanimously or whatever for something, to see what the proper signage was or is? Did the public know? Because, Mr. Papania, you might say, no one was here that complained about it, so I'm going to vote for it, but maybe nobody knew about it because the proper signage wasn't up there. And so when that complaint was made in your office, you said, quote unquote, from what I've heard, that's something I can fix. But yet, nothing actually did happen. There wasn't a sign put on the Government Street side of that. So as I drive down Government Street, I wouldn't have known if I lived right across the street that there was going to be put that to be commercial property. So my question is, as you are aldermen, and your responsibility that you're voting and saying, let's change that, nobody cares, it's fine, I'm going to do it, it's what I think is right. Did your citizenry know about that? Did you actually go to see that they properly put a sign up there and you visually saw it yourself and went, okay, I feel good about voting on this. I know people got a chance to see it. And you said you were going to fix that problem, which the sign never went up. And then we're voting on it and no one knows about it. I'm just saying, if you would be that transparent, everybody would be a lot more happy about what you guys are voting on if you let us know ahead of time. But when you don't put a sign up there, and it is a requirement, and you say you're going to do it, just don't vote on it, guys. Don't vote on it if we don't get a chance. It's your responsibility to get in the freaking car and drive by and see.
Okay. Next person for public comment, agenda item.
Good evening. My name is Tony Lawrence, a retired Army Corps of Engineer officer for 30-something years. I built a house at 815 Magnolia Bayou Boulevard. I want to say 1995 or 97. Anyway, we've been trying to get Paps Road improved since that time. That road is not wide enough for 2 fire trucks to get down, or 2 emergency vehicles. That road needs to be improved. The curb is not blind. If you drive that speed limit at 35 miles an hour, that is not a blind curb. It's a safe thing. That needs to be improved. There's commercial property right there. Someone's going to develop it. We can't sit here in these meetings and tell private people what to do with the land they spend their money on. But right now, that road does need to be improved. We've been trying for 30 years, like I said.
Yes, ma'am.
There's something on the plan.
Please state your name for the record, please.
Rebecca Alston, 117 Pine Drive. I'm really confused about this, and this is what needing clarity. They show a bike path running parallel the tracks out to where that road that we're discussing right now. And I was told that there's going to be a bike path from Pascagoula coming in to connect. And the bike paths and the sidewalks will almost be useless if we don't have the trees that line it, so it's a shaded path. And I'm wondering, how's that going to tie into that same location? Because it just dies when you get to that intersection with the light on Government and behind Rouse's. I don't understand how you're going to do all that, how that's possible.
I don't think you're talking about the exact same thing there. The tie-in in Highway 90 is on the other side of the tracks. It's not going to Paps Road.
It's not, and I thought the whole issue was to take a bike path so people could actually get to the hospital by either walking or on the bike path.
There is, but it doesn't affect this piece of property on Paps Road.
So how do you get it over there?
You drive on Government Street to Ocean Springs Road.
But there's no way to eventually, in the future, to plan for that bike and walking path with shaded trees?
Not on Paps Road. No. It's on Highway 90 in Ocean Springs Road.
It'll also connect to the national park, won't it, to their bike path?
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking more about people that want to give up driving a car every day.
There's nothing planned in that area for that, ma'am.
Well, I would like for you to at least consider have the paths shaded and pedestrian friendly and bike path friendly so that we can cut, according to the Medical Association, it would be very beneficial for people to be able to use those paths. It saves millions in hospital care because people could never actually get exercise while they're doing it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to an agenda item? Okay, moving on to old business. Item 6, adopt an ordinance to rezone parcel 6012804.2.000 northwest side of Government Street and Paps Road from R1A to Apartment District to CH Commercial, Regional Commercial. Does anyone have any questions for Carter on this?
Well, I guess the main question is, was the signage put out properly, and are we good with that?
100%.
Yeah, I pass the sign every day, Bobby, on my way home, the signs were out.
That's what I want to know.
Been out for quite some time.
Okay.
And this was approved by the board at the last meeting. The reason it was approved, the ordinance was inadvertently left off, so this is a corresponding ordinance.
It's a housekeeping item. Okay, is there a motion to adopt?
So moved, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Papania.
Second.
Second by Mr. Blackman. Any further discussion? Give me a roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Item 7, consent agenda. Does anyone have anything to pull from the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Impey,
Second.
second by Mr. Blackman. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to item 8, department reports. Does anyone have anything to pull from the docket of claims? Is there a motion to approve the docket of claims?
Motion to approve docket of claims, Mayor.
By Mr. Cox, second by Mr. Wade. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Does anyone have any questions on the monthly budget report?
Make a motion to accept the monthly budget report.
Motion by Mr. Impey.
Second that.
Second by Mr. Cox. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is general public comment. Public is invited to address the board for up to 3 minutes each for a maximum period of 30 minutes. Only 2 speakers will be allowed each side. First side of each issue, please identify yourself before speaking.
I hope you bear with me because I'm going to try to condense 40-something years of law enforcement experience into a couple of minutes. The recent spike in violent crimes in Ocean Springs is concerning. I'm sorry, Michael Pfeiffer, 716 Hidden Oaks. The recent spike in violent crimes in Ocean Springs is concerning. It's especially so since it was completely predictable. The hookah lounge has been the subject of ongoing complaints by residents that have remained unresolved. Complaints dealing with code violations, especially loud noise complaints, unruly crowds outside the establishment, and observed open-air drug law violations that still have not been addressed by law enforcement. It may be that the Ocean Springs Police Department is not sufficiently equipped or staffed right now to deal with this type of activity, or that there is an informal policy of leaving bars and entertainment venues and businesses alone when dealing with loud noise and crowd complaints. We all remember the May 23 shooting in the downtown district, which killed 1 and wounded 6 at the Scratch Kitchen Bar where a large crowd was present. This followed a November 2022 shooting at the Kahuna OS Bar and Grill, again in the downtown district, where 1 man was killed. Neighbors there were reported to have often said there was violence and stuff that breaks out there. If you can't see the pattern here, let me be very blunt. The proliferation and density of bars and entertainment venues has created the large crowds and subsequent tax revenue that was envisioned by the mayor and board of aldermen creating that district, but at the cost to the safety of the residents and visitors. You only need to go 90 miles to New Orleans to see what high-density bars and entertainment districts like Bourbon Street bring. They generate revenue, but at a cost. The cost is not just the safety issues that increase from large numbers of people drinking and doing drugs in a confined area, but the cost to the reputation of the community that the increase in violence brings. It's an axiom of policing that entertainment districts with high ABO, alcohol beverage outlets, density have a significantly increased propensity for violence and crime. Intoxicated people are boisterous and fight. Drunks are also easy prey for criminals, so you get robberies, thefts, pickpocketing, credit card thefts, and eventually prostitution. These districts require enhanced police presence, both visible and plainclothes, to deter criminal behavior, to stop fights, which often lead to the use of weapons, and to enforce the more obvious code violations, like overcrowding of venues and loud noise. If there's not a strong police presence in these districts with clear direction to keep the lid on the excesses, then people will come from all over to party in an environment where they can do so as they will. And in fact, the arrests in the cited cases have all been non-residents of Ocean Springs. This is exactly the situation here. There's no police presence, much less significant in the downtown entertainment district. There's no code enforcement. It's a principle of policing that code enforcement has a chilling effect and signals to the businesses and patrons that it's okay to have fun, but that the police will step in when you break the law. It's not unlike the broken windows theory in law enforcement, where visible signs of disorder or neglect can encourage crime and antisocial behavior. There is a way to address the problem. First, deal with the issue of density of ABOs. This is a zoning permit issue and will require ordinances to be passed to curtail growth downtown. You have to regulate it. Second, institute code enforcement on a systemic and regular basis to address issues like noise, parking violations, overcrowding of venues, and even obvious public intoxication. If the noise ordinances must be changed to meet legal requirements, including the purchase of meters and subsequent training, which is not expensive, done it many times, this can happen quickly, since proven legal examples of ordinances already exist in other cities. Third, increase significantly the police presence in the downtown entertainment district on a systemic, regular basis, especially during the peak times. If the LSPD cannot handle the workload due to their staffing levels, either hire more officers in the short term or employ county sheriff deputies. If that requires a luxury or sin tax paid by the businesses that have ABO licenses in that area to pay for the increased cost, put it to a referendum. Let the voters decide. Those venues require an increased police presence, so they should be willing to pay for it. The cost will be passed on to the consumers in those venues, not the entire community. But ensure that if you do this, that the police presence they pay for, they get. Don't move them someplace else. Public reporting on police staffing, assignments, locations, and hours worked, as well as the complaints received and actions taken by officers, should be reported weekly and posted on the city's website.
So
many cities use this in a ComStat
I've given you a
process.
lot of latitude here. You're going on about 5 minutes. So if you want to turn that
I only have
document
about
into
1
us. Okay, go ahead, finish that.
Thank you. The cost of Ocean Springs of violent crime has to be dealt with, and quickly. The reputation of the community cannot afford it for long. Families don't want to live in a community where they don't feel safe. And I'll tell you right now, I volunteer to help in any way I can. I've got an awful lot of experience with this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
nicely said. Rob McDonald. I am the juke joint in 1911 Government Street here. A lot of what you just said, sir. Sure.
Hey, Rob, address the board.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So fun fact, as for your sin tax, bars and restaurants in this town already pay a 2% sales tax above every other businesses in this town. So we already pay your sin tax, sir.
Address the board, please.
My apologies, I'm a little passionate about this. We as the juke joint follow the law and ordinance. We work regularly with the city for sound. Each business is responsible for policing its own business. I will tell you that the PD is doing a phenomenal job downtown. I invite everybody to come out. The PD is patrolling. They spend more of their time downtown around Mosaics and Murky Waters and down there because people attract people. Juke joint, we're on the very edge. But they do patrol. If we ever have an issue, we are responsible for handling the first of it. If we need help, we call them and they respond every single time. Let's talk about noise ordinances. If you want to go to a DB thing or look at that, I've talked to everybody here. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Alderman, we're happy to do that. But if the businesses are following the law, the government and the PD has to educate the public as well. Just because you don't like something doesn't mean you can complain or call the cops on people. Understand it, if they're breaking the law, by all means. But make sure they're breaking the law first. If you're not educating yourself, you're failing yourself just as much as anybody else is. I am available to talk to whenever you want. If you have an issue with the juke joint, by all means reach out. I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it. We've bought people noise-canceling headphones. We will go above and beyond to work with the community because we want to be good neighbors. We want to be a positive influence on this community, not just make money or sell liquor. Yes, that is our business. However, we want a safe environment and promote a safe environment that people have a good time in. Sure, the chief of police will be more than happy to let anybody know. Every time I see you or one of your officers, what is my initial question for you, sir? How are we doing? Did you hear anything? Do we need to look at anything? Is that true? It's the individual businesses. The Scratch Kitchen did not have enough security. Kahunas, and let's be honest, if somebody goes out with somebody else's boyfriend or girlfriend, what happens in the parking lot of a bar can easily just as happen in the parking lot of a Winn-Dixie or anything else. So before we start blaming businesses and bars, again, 6 years in the Navy, 20 years working for them, understand alcohol has an effect on people. But hold people accountable. That's what we're missing in this country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ellen Hall, 1217 Sunset. He is absolutely right. He's got a beautiful bar. I've been in that bar. I love that bar. Good food, great atmosphere, etc. It's the ordinances that are not enforceable. So you've got your amplified music ordinance, and you've also got your reasonable noise ordinance. And when I talked to Lemaire about those ordinances, and I paraphrase you, we're not really enforcing those as much as we are the state Mississippi ordinance. And it's just too difficult without having a decibel maximum level, which 85% of all cities who have bars and restaurants and all that, they have a maximum decibel. And so, you know, buying headphones for people, noise cancellation and all that, when you're trying to sleep in your bed in your home just a block away, these people can't enjoy their homes. And I came up here over a year and a half ago, right after the shooting on Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, saying, please put something in. It's going to end in a disaster if we don't do it. And since I moved back 6 years ago, I've seen the crime just go berserk from where it was. We used to stroll downtown at night and have dinner at 9 o'clock and hang out at the bars with our friends and see everybody we know. Now when I go to Glory Bound or any of those establishments, they have a security guy with a black shirt on that says security at every door. It wasn't like that 6 years ago. I mean, they didn't have that expense. We weren't worried about getting shot or hurt. It's different. None of us who live here feel like we can go down there safely and enjoy our town that we pay taxes for. It's been sold to not tourists. We're not calling them tourists. the ones that are coming from all over the Gulf Coast to come down here and party and trash our town. They're doing drugs, drinking, vomiting, peeing in people's yards, etc. We want to be able to enjoy our town and our restaurants too. And we feel like we've lost that. I never see you guys down there when I go down there at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, which I do go down there because I want to know what's going on down there. So give us our town back. Put a maximum decibel level on it so that it's not a party in the street with open containers, and let us have our town back, please.
Thank you.
Rebecca Alston, Pine Drive. I think that we do need to control the sound, and even though they're very novel bars and restaurants like the Juke Joint, you still hear from that location all the way down Forest Hill, because I have people tell me all the time. And I hear it from where I work, and I find it quite disturbing. There are ways to design and put in codes on how to design or how to build out a place that controls the sound. I mean, if you go to a lot of large cities, like Studio 57, when it was back at, a big thing in New York, they had no sound going out because they put the appropriate insulation and sound barriers on the interior of where they were playing the music. So there is a way to control it. Just have some requirements to control the sound.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else who would like to address the board? Okay, moving on to Mayor and Alderman's Forum. Alderman Burgess.
Alan, I've had some questions about when we can expect some asphalt repair.
I'm hoping to run Tuesday and Wednesday of next week.
Tuesday or Wednesday next week, okay. And I did want to mention this Sunday is the Discover Christmas Parade and Toy Drive. If you guys want to come down for that, that would be great. It's a toy drive, so mainly the parade is the extra.
All right, I have a couple motions I need. I have an additional road closure for Joseph Street from Washington Avenue to the Traveler property on December the 7th, 2024, from 3 p.m. until 11 p.m.
That's for when?
And that's for the Walter Anderson Museum Silent Night.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Alderman, second by Mr. Cox. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And then I need a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the Mississippi Power Streetlight Authorization Form for the Silent Light Festival.
Motion by Mr. Alderman.
Second.
Second by Mr. Blackman. All in favor?
Aye. I have a few more things. Alan, for Guyton Place, if we can, I know this week is already well on the way and y'all were off all last week, but at the beginning of next week, if we can get together on that. Okay?
I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay. Chief, on those police reports that we get, there's no way to decipher the times on that, is there? I mean, all it has is really the offense number where it says 24-01. Is there, that spreadsheet is generated from a software that the dispatcher uses, or can we add another line on that to put a time?
I'll check on it. I mean, it should be nothing hard to add.
Because what I'd like to see is the time, because just to clarify, I know Kevin goes downtown at night. I've seen him. I've seen Rob. I go down there at night. I ride around. If I get a complaint, I get a call, I'll get up and leave, and I'll go downtown. And I don't think anybody on this board wants anything or to happen to this city that's not desirable. And if something is going on, we want to take care of it. I mean, I've had numerous conversations with our police chief. I've had conversations with the mayor. There's not a week that goes by that we don't discuss, or we're not keeping logs on businesses in the city that need to be addressed. But I would like to see that if we can see a time on that document so we can see what's happening after 12 o'clock. And then as far as fire, I know Lionel's been downtown, I've seen him down there earlier, but if we can go ahead and get in his schedule to where he can get down there like at 12 o'clock on. I know ABC has been here too, looking at some of that stuff, but if we can, and it doesn't have to be like every week or every other week, but just a spot check to where they can check on that. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that in the morning.
Okay.
Department head meeting. Chief Lemire and I talked about that this afternoon.
And then last thing is, Stephen, on the pickleball courts. I'd like to move forward, removing that tennis net so that we can go ahead and make that court 100% pickleball. We voted on an MOU from our board to send it to the county. The county's has given us permission to do that, and I'd like to move forward with that.
Okay, get on it quick as possible.
Okay.
Ricky, on that matter, I spoke with Supervisor Ross the other day, and he's in favor of going ahead and turning that into full-time pickleball, but they're gonna continue working towards turning the court sideways on the other one where we could possibly open tennis back up at a later date. But he said that'll be a year or so down the road.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to do something later down the road, I mean, that's fine, but I think
that's good.
But I think right now I've already been through all the motions. Everybody that plays pickleball has been looking forward to doing this, and I really would like to move forward with this. And then if there is something else that's added down there, I did talk to Troy about, he has some concerns for parking, keep on adding down there. So I think there's a lot to be looked at, and I talked to some other people in the county that they don't have a funding source to do that right now at this time. So it could be a pretty lengthy process. But in the meantime, I personally think that adding more tennis courts at Kensington would be a waste of taxpayer dollars, because I just think that we have a big complex. I mean, it has an ice machine. I mean, it's got a pro store. I mean, it's everything everybody would want for a tennis court. And I just think that, if baseball's got their spot, and soccer or basketball and everybody else, I just think that pickleball should have their spot outside, an outdoor arena, not just in the Ryan Youth Center. So I can appreciate y'all trying to work on that, but I'd like to move forward with with the pickleball being 100% on that court.
Okay, moving on.
That's it.
The ditch the ditch that's being piped from Mitchell to Davison, what's the status on that?
It tied into the box today. They started backfilling it, so it should be almost ready to start fencing next week.
Thanks.
Alan, thank you for keeping Ward 4 in good shape. Thank you 100%. We tried.
Mayor, I wasn't going to do this, but now that it's come up, I prepared a statement on bars and entertainment district in downtown that I'd like to read real quick. Over the past year and a half, there's been many false statements as to the responsibility of this administration's involvement of creating the existence of too many bars and entertainment district downtown. Just to set the record straight, I have prepared the following statement on the issue. The entertainment district was created in 2016 by then Mayor Connie Moran and her administration. The vote to create the district was made by motion by Alderman Matt McDonald, seconded by Alderman Greg Denyer, and the vote went as follows. Alderman 1, John Gill voted aye. McDonald voted aye. Ward 3, Cody voted aye. Alderman Denyer voted aye. Alderman 5, Jerry Dalgo voted nay. And Ward 6, Alderman Mike Impey voted nay. And Alderman at Large Cox voted aye. The resolution was signed by then Mayor Connie Moran and City Clerk Shelley Ferguson on June 30th, 2016. Additionally, I did some research on the number of bars in the downtown district in that same time frame, and the number has remained the same since then. Yes, some have changed names, some have closed and been replaced by others, but the fact that there has been no additional bars created by this administration, or we're not responsible for creating bars, we don't bring bars to town. The board has been credited with creating what some call a Bourbon Street atmosphere, but that is simply not the case. This administration and the one prior has had nothing to do with this, as it started back as far as 2005 when the first 2 bars on Government Street opened. We cannot change what happened under the leadership from 2005 to 2017. All we can do is manage what was passed on to us. And in the words of Captain Jack Ross, these are the facts, and they are undisputed. That's all I have, Mayor.
Can't be changed.
I just want to remind everybody of, this is one of my favorite events of the year, the Christmas tree lighting.
Please.
Christmas tree lighting at the Mary C. this Thursday night from 6 to 8. Always a good time, especially if you have children. Be sure and bring them out. And I want to take a moment. We had a gentleman pass a few days ago, Mr. Bob Montgomery. Anybody that knew Bob knew he was a man of conviction, principle, a man of deep faith. He was a patriot, retired Lieutenant Commander, U.S. Navy, very active in the community until the day he passed. He was a longtime member of our Republican Municipal Executive Committee here in Ocean Springs. I've known the family for over 45 years, but Bob was very active in Ocean Springs. Probably even when he shouldn't have been, his health declined, but he was a very intelligent, well-read, quick-witted man with a great sense of humor, and he's going to be missed. And I think that's all I've got, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor, can I add something? Sure. I would like to ask us all to keep the Holloway family in our prayers. Mayor Holloway's brother passed away, and I think we should all have our thoughts and prayers. May he rest in peace.
Thank you. Second community meeting regarding zoning on the annexation area is on Monday, December the 9th at 6 p.m. I want to thank the community partners for lighting up the avenue, the Santa level sponsors, 4 or more trees, Blossman Companies, the Lady May, Glory Bound, the Garage at Cash Alley, and Mosaics. Rudolph Level 2 trees, Lemon Mower, the Cornerstone Group, Superior Optical. 11, Shane and Mona Loper, Mississippi Power Company. Elf Level sponsors 1 tree with Chevron, Crocker Heating and Air, The Office, Citizens Bank, Hillier House, Rain Residential, The Roost, Guff Hills and Resort, the Bank Collection, and Gina's. I think everybody can agree, at least I hope everybody can agree that the lights look good. There's no executive session tonight. Is there a motion to go into recess until 6 p.m. on December 17th? Motion by Mr. Who's the motion with?
I did.
Mike Anthony, second by Mr. Cox. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Hey, how's it going? It looked like you were gonna get up and talk, and then you didn't.
Yeah, when she was up there speaking, it was like, wow.
What's that?
Thank you.